I think everyone's back in their seats. Let's not delay. I'd like to bring out to present the thumbs to the director, Prashant Bhargava, and also two of the actors are here from India. Let's bring out Seema Biswas and Nawazuddin Siddiqui. And we have Nate Cohen is going to bring you one of the golden thumbs. And also, we're bringing in Ignatiy Vishnevetsky from Ebert Presents at the Movies. And I know perhaps you were in the audience, but we want you to know that this is a thumb. It was a casting of Roger's thumb, and the audience has heard this a lot of times, but it was made by the same company that makes the Academy Award. So this is the Ebert Award. Can't use it. I don't want the Academy suing me. And we have two others. We have the producer, Vijay Bhargava, who is, the executive producer, who is actually Prashant's father, and he's the one who took Roger's film class for 17 years. And last but not least, we have a thumb for Jaideep Punjabi, who's also a producer. He is the producer. And they're all going to stand on stage and talk, but I don't want to neglect the writer. He's backstage. James Townsend, will you come out, please? We have only 3 mics, so we'll have to share them.
So a little note about James. We had a little making of the film about 2 weeks ago. And on the film, as you've seen it, James is credited as a consulting writer. But in the theatrical release that's upcoming, that we'll be making a beautiful announcement today, he is going to be credited as a co-writer. So thank you, James.
Does that mean you have to redo the credits on the film?
Yeah.
You have to redo them?
Yeah, we have to redo the credits. And that's me, because I got to do the whole motion design thing, you know, with the radiation.
Okay. How did the film look to you in this theater with this audience?
Well, when it first happened, I was a little heartbroken. But it's been an amazing thing. I mean, to have, this is the largest audience we've ever had, and the largest screen that we've ever had. And
also the best audience, right?
But the film might have been okay and whatever you felt, but I think we should give Roger Ebert a big round of applause. As well as the festival director, Nate Cohen.
Thank you. We met in Hawaii, right, at the Hawaii International Film Festival. And I just gotten an email from Roger saying we should perhaps take a look at this film. I was on the jury in Hawaii, and there you were. And there was the film, and somehow you managed to win a prize as the best feature film at the festival.
Thank you.
So how are we going to make all these people talk?
I think when you have this many people, they just talk amongst themselves. You can have like 3 different Q&As going on at once.
I think we could
Yeah,
probably do that.
We'll do the left side, right side, center, and do 3 different.
We'll pass one of our microphones down to my microphone down to the center, and we'll share.
Oh, okay.
I think we should be with my dad, actually. You know, he's put up with me for 7 years making this film. So how did this journey transform you, and what did it mean to you as a father?
Make the next film in 1 year and don't trouble me. You know, I always say to people that you should get a chance to live with your children when they are adults. Because what happens is you learn from them, and suddenly they are teachers and you are a student. And so this journey of his for 7 years, as he was going to India every year, and meeting people, understanding people, and figured out that the culture that he grew up in, which was hip-hop, graffiti, getting arrested, all those things, were not really truly things for making film in India. And his process of learning that, beginning, to figure out how the oldest daughter-in-law should behave, and all those things was really gratifying to me. And in the end, when he was editing film at home, he threw me out of my office. My office became his studio, and I was sitting outside most of the time, and many times I would hear the same dialogues for weeks and weeks. And but that torture, I really loved it, because what I see in the end is a product of it, his passion, his love. And that's the best thing that can happen to a parent.
Just very quickly, I want to acknowledge 2 people. You might have met her. She might have given you a postcard. My mother and biggest promoter, Ranjana Bhargava, associate producer. And we're also blessed to have another of our associate producers, a beautiful filmmaker. He has a feature called Lilith that he's completed that's on the festival tour right now, Sridhar Reddy.
I have a question for you, so don't give up the microphone. How did it feel to have your son make a film not about his home in Chicago, but to want to make a film back in India?
I don't have a son yet,
From my point of view, it really didn't make much of a difference, because he made his first short film, which was a journey about his mother's hometown. And he used the 2 rivers in a way to express the 2 characters in his film. And when he took this project of thinking about Ahmedabad, my only concern was that he should capture the culture, capture the people the way they were, and tell a happy story. As far as I was concerned, in terms of making film in my current hometown, Chicago, I thought he will do that someday. So I was very happy that he went back, connected to our roots, and really, to me, brought back a beautiful film. So from that perspective, I was really satisfied.
So Prashant, do you want to answer the same question? Why did you choose to make a film in India as your first film?
Making films is kind of like therapy. So the thing that you have the most longing for, that you miss in your life, that was the journey that I embarked upon in making this film. I never had that opportunity to fly a kite with such jubilance. The beautiful children that worked on this film, the way that they would laugh coming from, neighborhoods of such adversity was something very inspiring to me. And ultimately, it was just something that I wanted to, when I would do hip-hop when I was a kid, and you saw a little bit of that, it was very embarrassing, actually. But when I did that, it was something that you wanted to get respect or dap from your peers. And that journey back to India to make something that the people of Ahmedabad feel proud about, that it's their story, that they can stand up and say, this is mine. That was very important to me. And ultimately, it's when I see a child in India react to the film with such exuberance and feeling that it's my story, I feel very proud.
No, I just wanted to say that the final shot in the film with the kid with the cast retrieving the kite, I think I said this to you earlier, it's just the most extraordinary shot. Single, no cuts, just one shot of him retrieving that kite. I think it's just extraordinary.
I have a question about the casting. I remember at before the film, you mentioned that 90% of the cast of the film are non-professionals. And I was wondering whether you would speak a bit about what it was like working with them, writing for them, just what the general process was and how they interacted with the professional actors.
So we began by doing 3 years of research, and that was a lot of observation. Growing up in Chicago, I was very conscious that I had an outsider's view of India. And after this, I'll hand the microphone to Seema, and she'll talk a little bit about that. But it was very much allowing that magic, that's the everyday magic, that I saw, and I saw that was so beautiful, just Ahmedabad, I love it. I wanted to allow that to transpire on screen, allow people to live on screen. And so during that research process, I remember the first year I was very scared. I would hide behind things. I would tell people I'm shooting some odd documentary or whatever tricks I needed to do to get there. 3 years after, I was able to hold a camera 6 inches from someone's face, and they would do what they were doing before. And that was the foundation of the film. And it was a very difficult task for me and James to write from that perspective. But I wanted to encourage people to live on screen. So for example, Bobby, who's 19, at the time of the shooting, it was not only his first kiss on camera, it was his first kiss in real life. So every attempt was made to create an environment that people feel comfortable to let go and be themselves on screen. Now, I had amazing actors in the 3 actors that I chose that were professional, Seema Biswas, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, and Sugandha Garg, and they were conspirators for me. They were co-directors in a way, guiding these scenes. You couldn't share the script with non-actors because if you share the script, they're going to lock up. Casting was crucial. You have to find those people that are actually those people on screen themselves. So I would give them physical objectives. For example, if you tell a kid to catch 10 kites as fast as he can, he's going to run after a kite. He's going to miss it. Some other kid's going to get it. He's going to get sad. Some ricksha's going to come and hit him, and he's going to be mad. But you get an entire arc through a physical objective. So that was the methodology that we came about. I think Seema has an interesting perspective on this because the first time that she heard about the script, she thought, oh, here it goes again, another Indian American making a film about exotic India. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Where to start? First of all, I would like to thank you, Roger, for giving me this opportunity to really be here, part of this festival. And really from my heart, I feel myself so lucky and honored to be part of this, wonderful screen, wonderful stage, wonderful audience, full of involvement and passion. And I feel like in every film, like every day I'm watching audience's reaction wonderful. I feel like really honored. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
She gets nervous after screening. Did she do a good job?
I'm really always, I feel very nervous sitting with the audience, watching myself. It's big torture for me. Anyway, but you all give me this, encouragement. And as far as this experience with, he is weird. You can see his shoes. So the similarity, the same color with kites and the shoes. So his life and his everything is Patang, and for us also. But when I got the script and I read the script, I was not so much impressed with my role. I thought nothing is there to perform. So Prashant sent me a long email, explaining in detail about the character. Then I went, I thought it's not sufficient for me to understand this director and the whole unit who are from, outside India. So let me go for a few hours to see this thing. So from Bombay to Ahmedabad is like 2 hours by flight, 1 hour journey. So I went there, I saw, first time when I saw he was playing with all kids, like who are all slum kids and, painting and doing cinema, still photography and all. Then I was very much really, I was shocked because I was not so friendly and familiar with them as he was there. He became like one of the member of this whole old city, Ahmedabad. And they had all plans, especially Ranjana ji, his mother. She made all plan that 7 o'clock, where should I go? 7:30, where should I go? Like just for observation about the whole city and culture and everything. Because though we are Indian, but we don't have one single culture. So more than 300 culture and custom and language and everything. So I was not so much familiar with this Gujarat cultural all activities. So first she took me to temple and the market and restaurant and this. Then finally Sudha, kind of my character, like one local lady just like me, Sudha. And I feel like after a few hours, when for me, like big inspiration was Ranjana ji. She was for me like Sudha, first of all. Second, that lady called Rohit's mother, and I also started cooking with her and playing with her and talking with her, started learning language and all. And but at the same time, it was very tough for me to perform with the non-actors, most of the 90% of actors, because sometimes for 2 hours, sometimes whether the scene is 1.5 minutes, whether it is 5 minutes, but we are in character, living with the character for like 5 hours, 6 hours, 2 hours, along with non-actors, like sometimes if I feel like to do instinctively, but they know that what I'm going to, so they, they have that anticipation and also handling with them, but he was there to really control everything. So it was overall interesting experience.
Actually, James, could you pass the mic to Nawaz? अच्छा. तो बच्चे के साथ कैसे था? कैसे आपने preparation किया?
I think it's a wonderful experience working with kids and non-actors. So I'm a trained actor. When I was in shooting, I learned a lot from the kids actually and non-actors. First of all, I just want to give an example. So Prashant is saying to the non-actor, give the award, just put the award here. All non-actors put the word here, that's it. That is the end of the task. If you are saying any trained actor or he knows very well about acting and all, and the same task we are giving him, he just put and things and then put this here. So बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा उनके साथ काम करने का मुझे, मतलब बहुत सारी चीज़ें सीखी बच्चों से.
It was a really good experience. I learned a lot. So I was just with the director, John Davies, at the bar, because I was a little tense. And he was telling me, your film is a little bit more style over substance. And I was like, yeah, but your film is a lot of, substance over style. So we were in an argument. But James, writing this script based on a lot of observation and trying to create scenes that allow people to live on screen, what were some of the challenges and exuberance that you had in this collaboration process?
Well, I mean, it's unlike anything I've ever done before. It wasn't like writing a script, it was, and it wasn't, but it also wasn't like a kind of freestyle process around actors and non-actors. There were definitely entire screenplays written, but ultimately what it came down to was protecting the intent and the nuance of the dynamics of the different beats, basically. We were putting together a relatively straightforward story, that was pretty universal around the clash of a family, based on a dynamic that could happen anywhere. That certainly wasn't a particularly Indian dynamic. There were Dickensian things about, wealthy relatives coming home and trying to influence their families. It's a very universal theme. So it wasn't, the challenges weren't in the nuts and bolts of writing it. It was, keeping the intent of each of the relationships, each of the major arcs, when you know that Prashant is off creating a movie in the way he does, which is so observational. So my role was really just about guiding the story as he goes through all those steps across multiple years through research and shooting and everything. Because you can see from the way he shot that movie that you ask him on a certain day and he'd be happy to tell you a story in pictures across 2 hours. His depth of visual storytelling is so intense that one of the, a big challenge was pulling him away from that and pulling him into some, closer to a more traditional model of telling the story through dialogue. I know that sounds very simple, but, again, intent and nuance of scene and relationships. Because I think one thing that does come across really clearly in the movie is the consistency of those relationship dynamics and how they play out through the film.
You shot this over a period of 7 years, you said. At what point, how was it scripted? How much did you shoot before you actually had a script?
We shot research footage, and that research footage informed our script. Mm-hmm. We wrote a script. The shoot itself was 2 months.
Oh, okay. So you scripted before you
and
shot.
Then it was, largely improvised based upon that script. Mm-hmm. But 95% of the script was on screen.
Okay. I see the producer over here looking at me. I understand you guys have an announcement that you want to make before. We're going to throw it open to questions shortly, but Prashant, do you want to make the announcement, or do you want your producer to do it?
This is the producer's thing,
So we premiered this film at the Berlin Film Festival last year, and we went on to have our North American premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival. Since then, it's been about 11 months of traveling to different festivals and trying to find a home for this film so that we can share it with audiences outside of festivals and in theaters. And we are very happy to announce over here for the first time that Patang has just found distribution and is going to be available in theaters across the country on June 15th. So it has been a remarkable journey for us. You see so many of us on stage over here when you work with Prashant. the entire process becomes a family affair. At so many of these festivals, it feels like we are an Indian wedding that's kind of like descending on you guys. But it is a beautiful feeling. It is reflected in
I'm
the...
still single.
Okay. There are wranglers out there with microphones in the
So
audience.
just to clarify what Jaideep was saying, June 15th, Cinema Village, New York. AMC, June 15th in Chicago. San Francisco soon to follow. And we also have the Carlton Theater in Toronto and 3 other cities in Toronto releasing.
So we just ask everyone, before we go into the Q&A, that there are postcards that are floating around over here. On the back of them, there is our Facebook link. It's facebook.com Patang movie. If you go on there and like us, we'll keep you updated about the movie and things that are happening with our cast and our crew. In this era, it's so incredibly important for people who have appreciated the film over here to share that with other people in cities around the country so that they can enjoy the movie. And it is a way in which all of you have an opportunity to kind of embrace independent films getting out there in theaters. So we encourage you to do that, and thanks for that.
Okay. Questions?
Yes, directly in front of you.
Hi, my question is for the director. I just wanted to say I'm an Indian American too, so I kind of identify like what you say, but like be feeling like an outsider looking in. I'm born in Dallas, so that's my whole thing. I was just wondering if the choice to have the girl shooting in Super 8, is that influenced by you taking 3 years to like do documentary work, or is it just, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's very much a part of me in terms of that gaze that she has, and I love Super 8, and so very much a part of me when she approached and the things that she saw. Later on, we'll be posting a little bit about the documentary footage, but you'll see me doing exactly the same that she was doing, so there's a part of her in me.
Another question?
In the balcony to your right.
Okay.
I had the chance to talk with you in the boutique area the other day, and you told me the 2 films that Ms. Biswas had been in that I might have seen, and I remembered them and looked them up, and I'd like the 2 actors to talk a little bit about what else we might see them in that might be accessible here in the U.S. for other people who might want to catch their films.
तो इसके आगे आप क्या कर रहे हैं? क्या हो रहा है?
अभी I can't say about it's up to the director and producer. कांस में 2 फिल्में हैं, गैंग्स ऑफ वासेपुर और मिस लवली, एक अनसर्टेन रिगार्ड के लिए और दूसरा डायरेक्टर्स फोर्टनाइट.
I'll summarize a little bit for him. He has 2 films in Kansas here as a lead actor. Miss Lovely, which is in the Uncertain Regard, and Gangs of Wasseypur, which is in Director's Fortnight. He also has 8 films releasing this year in India, and he's really, truly one of the most gifted actors and is leading this Indian movement of independent film.
So I just finished with Deepa Mehta, the film called Midnight Children, one of the important role I done there. It's going to be released in October, and they're showing in Toronto Film Festival, and I'm doing some Indian films. It's at the same time I'm doing my theater, solo 2 plays performance. I'm traveling all over the India with my plays.
Seema is way, I don't know, I had a big discussion this morning trying to encourage her to be who she really is. She's really one of India's finest actors. And I don't know if you've seen Bandit Queen, but she was Bandit Queen.
Another question.
Okay, we are to your left in the aisle, you see.
Hi, thanks for the wonderful film. I was curious about the language, particularly in terms of the script. Like, what language was the script originally written in? Were there any issues with translation? And then the particular instances where I believe the character's name was Priya when she switched into English a few times in the film. Was that also scripted? Was there anything specific you were trying to do with that specific code switching or anything like that?
The film, you know, I think in Chicago slang, so I wrote it in English. It was translated. We shot the film in Hindi, but the local language in that area is not actually Hindi, it's Gujarati. So it was a tough choice for us, but we chose to make the film in Hindi more for marketability, you know, within India. As far as Priya, if you go to any of the big cities in India, Delhi or Mumbai, they do this thing where they speak almost 60-70% English with a lot of Hindi words thrown in, and that's their lingo. I don't know if they call it Hinglish or whatever they do, but it's a very odd thing. And so it's very reflective of the language that she actually speaks coming from Delhi.
I think we have time for about 2 more questions.
Yes, to your right in the aisle.
Yes, I have a question for the panel as well as the audience. What struck me about this movie was the very strong metaphor of hope, the vagaries of hope as expressed in the kites and the wind and the string. Did anybody else have that reaction?
Give it if you felt that.
You want to comment on that?
Did you have any more to the question, or?
Oh, she's over here, but.
Yeah, I mean, for me, played by Seema, that line, that we don't hold on to our past with sadness, we hold on to our happiness, our little happiness. That was the theme of the film for me. So all that kite flying and cutting and flying high, and I think you really touched upon what I was hoping to communicate, so thank you very much.
I'll add a quick thing to that as well. There was, I mean, the kind of the hope and the pragmatic matriarchal forces in this were one of the key things that we worked on that drew me to the project, right? Just we can all identify with those types of women who ultimately transform sadness into positivity. And then also one of the first things we connected over was the festival itself, because, you know, to a certain extent in our culture that's been lost, the concept of group festival as a healing life force. So that hope, I think, is really rooted in Sudha and the concept of group festival.
Yeah, I mean, there's a long tradition. One of the purposes of festivals is to get out of the everyday and to be able to, in this very short space of time, things happen, things get said that are always under the surface. It's an intense period when people feel freer to express themselves to each other, and things long simmering sometimes come to the surface.
Nate, on that point, we had a wonderful experience recently where someone had seen this film at the Jerusalem Film Festival, and they actually went to Ahmedabad to experience the Kite Festival over there for the first time after seeing the film. So the festival takes place on the 14th of January, and it spreads over 3 days in this town. And they wrote back to us kind of sharing what their experience was over there, and it was just kind of magical to see that someone had taken what they'd seen on screen and actually made it part of their life.
Actually, before we go on to the next audience question, something I kept wondering about during the film is how much of it is actually shot during the Kite Festival, or is none of it shot during the Kite Festival?
Well, from a production point of view, Prashant mentioned that, you know, we were shooting for 2 months. When we came into Ahmedabad, it's a difficult city to shoot in, but Prashant had spent 3 years over there cultivating relationships in a very unique fashion. I think a lot of the people at this festival can kind of testify to his ability to just kind of get you on his side and get you interested in what he's doing. So when we got on the ground over there, we had police officers, gambling bookies, politicians, the guy who made tea on the corner of the street, the guy who owned the local hotel, everyone would always be going on about Prashant Bhai, Prashant Bhai. So it was very interesting for us to have that comfort zone kind of being something that he had created for us. We shot over the Kite Festival. There were 3 days of very intense shooting on the 13th, 14th, and 15th, which were all centered around the Kite Festival. And then in the run-up to that, there were various days on which we recreated efforts in the city. But something which was so interesting about Prashant's technique was always that desire to recreate on screen what was being experienced in real life. So all of our kite flying scenes were shot prior to the actual Kite Festival or on the days of, because after it, the energy in the city just dissipated. And he wanted to prevent the actors from feeling that when they were in their performances.
Why are all the kites the same size, and why aren't there any giant kites? If it were in this country, there'd be people building bigger and bigger and bigger kites.
I mean, if you get a big kite up in the sky, you're gonna have 100 coming after you. So I mean, when you're on the rooftop, you actually fly about 50 kites, and you know, you put a lot of love into the way that you choose your string and the way that you choose your kite. There's a lot of variations. Some are a little bit wider. Some have this tail that's a triangle. Some have this little fizzy stuff at the end. Right now, China's entered the market. They're making plastic kites and nylon threads, so you have a lot of variation. But it's very much about that art. And you know, every kite is about 10 cents. And so people just get up and fly. But seriously, if you flew a big kite, and we did once, and when we did it, we had so many people coming after us, so.
Okay. Let's take one more question from the audience.
From the balcony.
Thank you so much for bringing this film. I was curious about the aspect ratio. You mentioned at the very beginning that it was a 2-to-1 ratio, and I was just wondering why you made that choice.
I mean, it was shot 16:9, and when I looked at the sky, it didn't feel 16:9. It felt much more 2-3-5. But having shot that way, it was a tough choice. But choosing this kind of in the middle aspect ratio really served the story, allowed that intimacy to occur at the same time, you know, at some degree of space. You know, it's a very, in some ways you can say it's a very intimate film. There's a lot of close-ups, and that was done out of a necessity, because when you take a wide shot in that city, there's so many stories unfolding that you really have to get into that space to do so. And it just felt right, you know, it felt like that was the right proportion to balance the aspect of intimacy and breadth in the frame.
Listen, we really thank you for traveling this great distance to come be with us in Champaign, Illinois, and even those of you who traveled from Chicago, we thank you as well. It's a wonderful film, and we're very pleased to have had it as part of the festival. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.